You ever come home expecting quiet, a drink, maybe 10 minutes apiece by the water, and instead find out somebody built a damn border wall across your own land? Because that's how my week started. I left for Austin to close a water contract, came back to my ranch in Oklahoma, and found a 7-foot steel fence cutting off the west road to my lake like I was the one trespassing. I sat there in my truck for a second just staring at it, too tired to even cuss right. Then I saw the signs bolted into the metal. Private property. HOA access only. No trespassing. Not my name anywhere. Not one word about the man who'd owned that road, maintained that road, and driven that road for over 20 years. Just a clean little lie in black letters standing there like it had every right in the world. And the part that really got under my skin, it wasn't just the fence. It was the confidence of it. Concrete footings, welded joints, fresh gravel dumped past the gate, all of it done like whoever ordered it believed I'd come home, shrug, and accept that my own lake now belonged to a neighborhood with pastel houses and stone mailboxes. About 30 feet off, there were a few workers standing near an excavator and a couple pickups. I pulled out my phone and started filming. One guy with a clipboard looked over, said something to the rest of them, and those men scattered so fast you'd think I'd stepped out holding a shotgun instead of an iPhone. Engines fired up, dust flew, and within a minute, all they left behind were tire tracks, one pair of gloves, and a whole lot of nerve. I went back to the house, dropped my bag by the door, and spread my old property map across the dining table. 6,000 acres. I know every line, every gate, every pump station, every bend in the land. That lake sat dead center in property my family had held for generations. My great-granddad helped dig part of it. I stocked it myself a few summers back. There was a private pier on my side, my road leading in my pump's feeding systems that, funny enough, also helped keep that little HOA development supplied with water. That development sat along my western edge, Silver Creek Lakeside Villas. Real polished kind of place. The kind where every house looks like it came from the same brochure, and every rule exists mostly so somebody important can feel important. The woman running it was Karen Winkcroft, and if you've never met a person who wears authority like perfume, trust me, they exist. I called the county planning office, asked if any permits had been filed near my parcel while I was gone. The man on the line shuffled papers, then said there appeared to be a temporary easement issue under review. I said, "A temporary what?" He told me to hold. I didn't hold. I grabbed my truck keys and went right back outside. Before dark, I walked the whole western side with my drone in the air, streaming everything to my tablet. Bolt by bolt, bracket by bracket, every inch of that fence sat inside my property. Not on the line, not close to the line, inside it. And then I found the paper trail. Somebody from Silver Creek had filed a claim saying that portion of my lake had been mistakenly listed as private and might fall under some vague community recreation overlay. I'll give them this much, it was bold. Stupid as hell, but bold. They'd filed it while I was in Austin, asked for a temporary barrier for shared natural resource protection, and because no one contested it fast enough, the thing got processed like a coffee order. Bureaucracy's a funny machine. Feed it enough bland words and it'll stamp nonsense into something that looks official. Next morning, I was standing in the clerk's office with printed drone shots and a temper that had already scared off 2 interns. The woman behind the counter, Renee, took one look at the photos and said, "Well, hell." I told her I needed more than hell. She explained the HOA had submitted the request 2 weeks earlier, claimed ambiguity, marked it as temporary, and code enforcement approved the barrier under an expedited clause. On land they don't own, I asked. She gave me that look government folks give you when they know something's rotten but don't want to say it too loud. Then she sent me to planning. Planning was worse. Beige walls, stale air, and a man named Douglas wearing a tie that looked older than my tractor. He read from the file like he was reciting weather, community benefit, temporary usage, visual public access to the lake. I said visual access. So if I can see your house from the road, I get to move in. That one at least made him blink. He admitted the language was vague. I told him vague was for bad poetry, not property law. He said if I wanted to contest it, I'd need a fresh boundary survey, a private right statement, probably a cease and desist to the HOA. I said, "Buddy, I'm way past probably." That afternoon, I hired a survey crew, got a drone operator from Tulsa to do a clean 4K overlay, and called my attorney, Rachel. Rachel had a calm voice and the kind of brain that made other lawyers develop chest pain. I sent her everything. She called back and said, They picked a stupid fight. I said good. I was in the mood for one. Next morning, Karen showed up at my gate with 2 private security guys dressed like she'd been elected mayor of khaki. Polo shirt, sunglasses, clipboard, that tight little smile people use when they think charm counts as leverage. Mr. Blair, she said, sweet as spoiled milk, we'd like to discuss a mutually beneficial access agreement. I folded my arms and told her to skip the warm-up. She opened a binder and started laying it out. Limited recreational use, community paddle access, supervised shoreline events, nature walks. I just stared at her. She kept going, said if I cooperated, there'd be no need for anybody to raise concerns about my well permits or water certifications. That was the moment the mask slipped. It was blackmail dressed up in HOA language. I stepped closer and told her real plain, you fenced me off, my own road, tried to steal my lake with paperwork, and now you're threatening my water rights. She said she was only suggesting cooperation. I held up my phone and told her the whole conversation was being recorded. Then she smiled and said, your business runs as long as the county says it can. Now that right there, that was the moment something cold settled in me. Not panic, not even rage exactly, just clarity. Because Karen had no idea who she was talking to and no idea how much of Silver Creek's comfort depended on systems crossing my land. 2 days later, I stopped arguing and started teaching. I didn't shut their water off. Not exactly. I suspended non-essential maintenance on Pump Station 3 and filed official notices saying access routes to critical equipment had been obstructed by an unresolved land dispute. That was true. Boring, dry, beautiful truth. And when water infrastructure gets ignored even for a little while, pressure starts dropping fast. By 10 that morning, people in Silver Creek were already complaining. Faucets sputtering, toilets refilling slow, showers going weak. By afternoon, their little neighborhood Facebook page looked like a house fire. Karen was getting tagged in every post. Folks wanted answers. She told them there were routine upgrades underway, which was funny because you can't upgrade equipment when you've blocked the man who services it from reaching it. I watched the chaos unfold from my porch with a glass of rye and my lawyer on speaker. Rachel said, you're playing hardball. I told her, no, I'm enforcing boundaries. That same night around midnight, my motion alert went off near Pump Station 3. I pulled up the feed and there was one of Karen's security men creeping around with bolt cutters and a folded set of schematics. Real subtle. I grabbed my flashlight, my sidearm, and headed out. I made enough noise on the gravel that he heard me coming. I shouted for him to step away from the station. He froze, then tried to run. I'm not 20 anymore, and I felt every year of that tackle, but I got him down and pinned him long enough for the sheriff to arrive. Officer Jenkins took one look at the tools, the footage, the fake confidence draining out of that man's face, and just whistled. The guy started babbling that Karen told him it was legal, that he was only checking for leaks. Sure, with bolt cutters. Jenkins hauled him off in cuffs. My shoulder was half wrecked after that. Urgent care called it a rotator cuff strain. Sling for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Silver Creek went bone dry. Hydrants, too. That's when panic really set in over there. Karen called me from a blocked number that evening. Her voice had changed. It had lost that polished edge. She said people were scared there were children, we needed to talk. I told her we were past talking. Now we had paperwork, sworn statements, and consequences. Then came the twist she never saw coming. Sheriff Jenkins called the next day and told me the security guy had started singing. Karen had given him station diagrams and a fake access authorization printed on HOA letterhead with her signature on it. Not just trespassing anymore. Now we had fraud, attempted sabotage, interference with critical infrastructure. Rachel damn near laughed when she saw it. We went public. Rachel held a press event on my porch and laid it all out clean and mean. The fence, the false permit filing, the threats, the sabotage attempt, the drone footage, the arrest, the forged authorization. It blew up fast. Local news ran with it. Online forums picked it apart. And once people smell blood in a gated community, they don't stop sniffing. That's when another surprise walked in the door. A vice chair from the HOA board, Walter Dunlap, called me privately. Said he'd opposed the fence from the start. Said Karen had made side deals with a real estate outfit promising shared shoreline access to boost lot prices. Some homeowners had paid huge premiums for lake access that never existed. She'd been selling fantasy with my shoreline on the brochure. By then, the whole thing was rotting from the inside. Residents turned on her. Homeowners started realizing they'd been lied to. The judge tossed out her emergency injunction before lunch the day her lawyers filed it. Then somebody leaked HOA meeting minutes online where Karen had said, "He's just a rancher. We can handle a rancher." That line spread all over town, and just when I thought she couldn't get dumber, she proved me wrong. Early one Sunday, my foreman Clay banged on my door before sunrise and led me down to Pump Station 2. Behind the tree line, we found a rented drill rig, fresh bore work, and brand new PVC running downhill toward Silver Creek. They had tried to tap my aquifer, not through court, not through permits, through the dirt in the dark like thieves. I stood there staring at that ugly little trench and felt sick, then furious, then weirdly calm. Because once somebody tries to steal your groundwater with a backdoor pipe, the whole argument changes. That's not neighbor drama, that's criminal. Clay handed me a USB with camera footage. Plates were visible. Rachel nearly exploded when I called. The sheriff came, then an environmental investigator, then prosecutors. Later that night, a dump of HOA internal emails hit the internet, and there it was in black and white, Karen authorizing emergency backup aquifer access and telling contractors to move discreetly. Discreetly. God, I still laugh at that. By the time trial started in early March, Karen was finished and just hadn't accepted it yet. The HOA board had removed her. Half the neighborhood hated her. Her house looked abandoned before she'd even lost it. But she still came into court every day dressed like posture could beat evidence. It couldn't. Rachel put me on the stand. I walked the jury through everything. The fence, the false filings, the blackmail, the sabotage attempt, the illegal drilling. Then the state investigator laid out his zoning audit page by page, showing forged maps, fake overlays, pressure on county staff, all of it. After that, the environmental expert explained what could have happened if that borehole had hit the active layer. Contamination, fracture, possible collapse of one of the cleanest water sources in that whole part of the county. You could feel the room turn on her. Karen never testified. Smartest thing she did the whole time. On day 5, the verdict came back guilty on every count. Fraud, trespass, environmental violations, attempted resource theft, reckless endangerment, the whole ugly pile. 15 years. The HOA got hammered $2 million in damages, permanent injunction, the works. Residents got slapped with special assessments on top of the lies they'd already bought into. A lot of them sold and left. Turns out fake lake access loses some shine when it comes with court records and dry pipes. A month later, I was back where I'd wanted to be the day this whole mess started, by the lake with some peace at last. I had folks over from town for a quiet barbecue, people who understood the difference between being neighborly and being entitled. Kids fished off the pier. One little girl caught a bluegill and screamed like she'd landed a shark. Her dad laughed and said it's his lake, but he shares it when people treat it right. That stuck with me. A few days after that, I put up a new sign where Karen's fence used to stand. Carved it myself out of cedar. Private land. No public access. No exceptions. Simple. Honest. No fake authority. No committee language. Just the truth. What I learned from all this is something I should have known sooner. Some people don't want what you built because they need it. They want it because they can't stand the fact that it isn't theirs. And when people like that get a little paper power, they start believing rules are weapons and other folks are scenery. Out here, that kind of thinking dries up fast. So tell me this. When somebody uses paperwork pressure and plain old lies to take what isn't theirs, where do you think justice ends and revenge begins? And if you've ever dealt with a person like Karen, somebody who mistook access for ownership, I'd love to hear how that turned out for you.